All right, ready for this? Today we're gonna dive deep into AI and intelligence.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and no, not like a sci-fi movie plot or anything.
Right.
This is real deal research featured on SciPost, and it
hmm
it kind of makes you rethink what we even mean by brain power.
I know, that's what I thought. When I saw this study, I was like, wait, they're using AI
Yeah,
not to, write poems or whatever,
right.
but to actually look into our brains and figure out, like, what makes us intelligent.
So they're building an AI that can basically judge how smart we are just from a brain scan?
Not really judging, more like predicting.
Okay.
Yeah, they use this huge database. It's called the Human Connectome Project,
Oh,
and it's brain scans from, get this, over 800 people,
wow.
all between 22 and 37, and all, cognitively healthy.
So I'm picturing a whole room of scientists staring at these brain scans, trying to figure out
Yeah.
the secrets of intelligence.
Right, but that's where AI comes in.
Oh,
So they're using this technique called fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it basically lets us see brain activity, like in real time.
Oh, cool.
It measures blood flow, which is a pretty good indicator of which parts of the brain are, like, firing up when you're doing stuff.
So not just a still photo of the brain.
Exactly. And that's really important for understanding intelligence, right?
Hmm.
So this study, they didn't just look at people resting. They also had them do 7 different cognitive tasks.
Oh, wow.
Things like memory exercises, language comprehension, to really see the brain in action.
Okay, that makes sense. So, but how do you teach an AI to actually recognize intelligence in all that data?
So it's all about machine learning.
Right.
Basically, they fed the AI tons and tons of this fMRI data, along with everyone's scores on intelligence tests.
Okay.
And over time, the AI learns to connect the dots, like which brain patterns go with different levels of smarts.
Like a detective, looking for clues in the fMRI scans.
Exactly.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
But when we say intelligence, I mean, isn't that like more than just an IQ score?
Oh, absolutely. You're right. Intelligence is way more complex than that.
Yeah.
And this study, they break it down into 3 categories. General intelligence, sometimes called G,
Okay.
fluid intelligence, and then crystallized intelligence.
Okay, so break it down for me. What is this G thing, and why does the AI seem to love it so much?
Okay, so think of G as your overall brain power,
Right.
It's your ability to problem solve, to reason, to learn new things kind of across the board.
Hmm.
And the AI was really good at predicting G, which suggests that it might have more consistent brain patterns associated with it.
So someone with high G, their brain's got a special signature.
It's not quite a fingerprint,
Right.
but the research suggests that it might have more recognizable neural correlates, compared to other types of intelligence.
That's pretty wild.
It is.
So what about, you said crystallized intelligence. Is that like all the stuff you learn over time? Yeah, exactly. It's the knowledge and skills you accumulate, your mental database.
Makes sense why the AI is good at that too, right? I mean, it's more stable.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably reflected in brain networks that are more consistent over time.
Okay, so then fluid intelligence, that's the thinking on your feet stuff, right?
Exactly. It's how you adapt to new situations,
Yeah.
how you solve problems you've never seen before without relying on what you already know.
And that one, that was trickier for the AI.
It is a bit harder to pin down, yeah.
Really? What? You'd think quick thinking would light up those brain scans like crazy.
That's what's so interesting. The study found that actually brain activity during challenging tasks, like when you're really pushing yourself mentally,
Right.
that's what gave the best predictions, much more than just resting state scans.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it suggests that fluid intelligence might involve brain networks that are more like dynamic and flexible.
Like a jazz band improvising instead of a fixed circuit board.
Exactly.
I like that.
And here's another thing. We know some brain areas are super important for thinking, like the prefrontal cortex, right?
Yeah.
The parietal areas, too.
Yeah.
But the AI's predictions got even better when they looked at the whole brain, not just those spots.
So intelligence isn't just about having a super-powered prefrontal cortex.
It seems not.
Yeah.
It's more about how all those different areas connect and work together, the whole network,
Wow.
They actually found about 1,000 specific brain connections that were the most predictive of intelligence.
1,000.
Yeah, and they were spread out across different networks, including, and this might surprise you, the default mode network.
Wait, the default mode network, isn't that what's active when we're daydreaming?
Yeah, it's associated with this more introspective states,
Right.
but it also seems to play a role in memory and self-reflection, even social cognition, all of which contribute to, intelligent behavior.
The brain is full of surprises.
It is, right.
Yeah.
So it's like this whole brain phenomenon, not just one part doing its thing.
Okay, so my mind's officially blown, but what if they took out a whole network from the AI's model?
Oh, that's a great question.
Did it just crash?
Nope. It still made decent predictions, which suggests our brains have backup systems.
Wow,
Like even if one part isn't working perfectly, others can step up.
that's amazing.
It's a testament to the brain's plasticity and resilience.
So even if you're not like a genius, your brain's still got some tricks.
Absolutely.
That's good to know.
But, we have to remember, this study, it was on healthy adults, a specific age range.
Right.
So we can't assume this applies to everyone.
Of course.
And we still need to figure out exactly what those 1,000 connections are doing.
Yeah, more research is needed for sure.
Totally.
But this is a pretty incredible start, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. It's a fascinating glimpse into, like, the nuts and bolts of intelligence.
Yeah.
And it opens up so many new questions for future research.
Well, we've covered a lot already. Different types of intelligence, those 1,000 connections, the whole deal.
Right.
Now, what about the real world? Like, what does this all mean for, how we learn, how we teach, even how we think about intelligence in general?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we'll dive into next.
So, okay, we know AI can look at brain scans and be like, hey, this person's pretty sharp. But what do we actually do with that information? Like real world stuff,
Right. Well, think about education. That's a huge one.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine if we could tailor, like, every student's learning experience to their own brain wiring.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. We could ditch the one-size-fits-all approach.
Totally.
And create, like, truly personalized learning journeys for everyone.
So instead of forcing everyone into the same box, we could, like, help them play to their strengths.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not just strengths, but also challenges, right?
Right.
Like, think about early intervention for learning disabilities. If we can spot those patterns early on, we could give kids the support they need right when they need it.
It's like giving them a personalized toolkit for learning.
I like that.
Me too.
Oh.
But what about beyond school? Like, could this help with, I don't know, diagnosing brain stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Think about things like dementia, Alzheimer's,
Right.
understanding those brain networks.
Yeah.
It could be huge for diagnosis. Like, what if we could see those tiny changes even before symptoms show up?
We could maybe, like, slow things down or even prevent it.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, that's pretty big.
It is.
But isn't it a little, I don't know, reductive to say that intelligence is just, like, a bunch of connections?
Oh, for sure. We can't forget how complex intelligence really is.
Right, like, it's more than just test scores, right?
Right. This research, it focuses on the stuff we can measure with tests.
Yeah.
But what about creativity, emotional intelligence?
Right, or even just, like, social skills.
Exactly. We can't ignore all that.
No, where?
This research is a powerful tool.
Yeah.
But it's just one piece of the puzzle.
Right, so how do we fit all that together?
Right.
Like, the brain scans and all those other things?
It's an ongoing challenge for sure.
Yeah.
We need a more holistic view of intelligence.
Well, okay.
It's multifaceted, right? It's cognitive abilities, it's social and emotional stuff, it's creative potential.
Like an orchestra.
Yes.
You need all the different instruments to make the music really work.
That's a great analogy. Each part plays its role.
Yeah.
And this study, it's like focusing on the strings, Important, but not the whole orchestra.
Right. So this research it's important,
Yeah.
but it's not the end of the story.
Exactly. It's a starting point for a more complete picture of how our minds work.
It's a journey, I guess.
It really is.
Well, we've talked about AI predictions.
Yeah.
We've talked about task-based brain activity and the whole, like, symphony of the brain thing.
Right.
But one thing that really stuck with me
Yeah.
is this idea that intelligence isn't, like, fixed. It's shaped by how our brains are wired and how we use them. It's like we have the power to change our own intelligence.
I think that's a really empowering idea.
Right.
And the research definitely shows that our brains can adapt.
Yeah.
They rewire themselves based on what we do, what we experience.
So it's not just like you're born smart or you're not.
Exactly.
You can actually cultivate it.
Throughout your whole life.
That's a pretty hopeful message, I think.
It is.
Even if you don't, like, ace every test, your brain's still got potential.
Exactly.
So how do we use this? Like, how do we help people reach that potential?
That's the next big question.
It is. But for now, let's take a minute and, like, recap what we've learned.
Okay.
Okay, so AI can decode these intelligence pathways. And we talked about all the cool stuff like personalized learning, maybe even helping with those cognitive challenges.
Right.
But we got to talk about the ethical side too, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's like we're opening this Pandora's box, you know? Once we have this knowledge, how do we make sure it doesn't get used for, like, bad stuff?
Exactly. That's the big question.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if we use these brain scan predictions to decide who gets into college or who gets hired.
Oh, wow.
That's a scary thought.
It is. It's like your brain scan becomes your destiny.
Right. And we definitely don't want that.
No way.
We want to use this to create a more fair and inclusive world.
Right. Not to, like, make the existing problems even worse.
Exactly.
So it's a tough balance, right?
It is.
Like, we want to use this amazing tech, but we also have to be super careful.
Absolutely. And it's not just up to scientists.
Yeah.
You know, we need ethicists, policymakers. Everyone needs to be part of this conversation.
To figure out the rules, the boundaries.
Sure, exactly.
So just because we can do something doesn't mean we should.
Right. We always have to think about the bigger picture.
Yeah. Okay, so for all our listeners out there who are like, whoa, how can I boost my own brain power? What's the main takeaway from all this?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that intelligence isn't fixed. It's not like you're stuck with what you're born with.
Okay.
It's dynamic. It changes. It's influenced by, your genes, your experiences, everything.
So it's not just about those 1,000 connections being, like, perfect.
Right. It's how you use them.
Right.
How you challenge yourself. How you learn new things.
So even if AI can give us all this cool info about the brain,
Yeah.
it's still more than just, like, a bunch of wiring.
Absolutely. Intelligence is about our cognitive skills,
Yeah.
our social and emotional intelligence, our creativity.
Right, the whole package.
The whole symphony, yeah.
Exactly, and who knows what we'll discover next, right?
Right. We're just starting to understand all the amazing things our brains can do.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
But we hope you keep thinking about this stuff. What does intelligence mean to you? How do you challenge your brain? Let us know what you think. Hit us up on social media.
Yeah, keep those brains buzzing.
Exactly. And until next time, keep exploring